Hey, welcome back to the Coffee Chat with Chan. We have a jam-packed episode for you this week. We are recapping the VMAs, talking about the CMAs and whether or not they actually snubbed Beyonce with not having a single nomination. We also have a recap of the presidential debate and the latest on Donald Trump's 2020 election interference case out of Georgia. And of course, we're talking the latest headlines in the NFL, who is headlining the Super Bowl halftime show, and of course, breaking down the Pac-12 that was the 2-pack that is now a 6-pack. Yeah, we'll break that all down too. So go ahead, grab your cup of coffee. Let's get started on this morning's Coffee Chat. And before we get too far into this, my name is Shannon Curtis. I am a journalist and a news anchor. I do these weekly news recaps every single week here on YouTube. Hit that like and subscribe button so you don't miss out on any of these great stories. So this week featured the first presidential debate between Donald Trump and Kamala Harris, but the second presidential debate of the year. Now, this was an ABC News moderated debate that lasted about 90 minutes. The candidates were asked questions about their immigration policies, the economy, and of course, were given some time to stick a few jabs into one another as well. Now, moving forward, Kamala Harris's camp came out and said that they did ask Donald Trump's camp for another debate in which he declined. However, we also learned that Kamala Harris declined a debate that was going to be held on Fox News. So now, as far as we know, there will not be another presidential debate, at least not ahead of this year's elections. There will be a vice presidential debate. That one's going to be moderated by CBS. That one is happening in October. Both former President Donald Trump and Vice President Kamala Harris were at the 9/11 tribute memorial that took place in New York City, right around Ground Zero. They actually shook hands with each other while they were there. Since then, they're both back on the campaign trail, and Donald Trump actually got a bit of good news while out there campaigning. A Georgia judge actually dismissed 2 of the counts in his Georgia election interference case that stems from the 2020 election. Now, the judge said that those 2 counts fall under federal and not state jurisdiction, and that's why they had to dismiss the charges. At this time, Donald Trump now faces 8 counts of election interference as opposed to the 13 that he was originally charged with. But this case has been on halt since June while the Georgia Court of Appeals reviews the case. All right, enough with the hard news for now. Let's turn to sports. Of course, in Thursday night football, the Buffalo Bills and Miami Dolphins faced off. The Bills absolutely obliterated the Dolphins. If you're a sports fan, especially an NFL fan, if you watch the last, say, 5 minutes of the second quarter during that game, it looked like the Miami Dolphins were not even trying. It looked like they were literally just trying to run the clock out so they could go back into the locker room and regroup. They just didn't regroup for the second half. Now, during the game, a super scary moment for starting quarterback Tua Tagovailoa for the Miami Dolphins when he suffered a concussion there during the game. Incredibly scary. Now, we're told that he's doing well and he was very responsive, but once he got to the hospital and was able to be checked out, and he was able to walk off the field under his own accord. But now this weekend, a lot of experts and a lot of former NFL players are talking about whether or not Tua Tagovailoa should retire. He has had several concussions throughout his career, and the one that he suffered on Thursday night really was scary. The Pac-12, which turned into a 2-pack for a little while, is now a 6-pack. So Washington State and Oregon State are adding 4 teams from the Mountain West Conference to the Pac-12 or 6-pack conference for the 2026 season. The 4 teams are Boise State, Fresno State, San Diego State, and Colorado State. So get this, the Pac-12 and those 4 schools will end up owing the Mountain West Conference about $110 million for them exiting the conference. Now, according to NCAA rules, in order for the Pac-12 to become or remain a Power 5 conference, they do have to add in 2 more teams. And people are going crazy online speculating which 2 schools will actually move into the Pac-12 or move back to the Pac-12. A lot of people are saying California schools would make sense, like Cal, Stanford. Some people, especially here in the Inland Northwest where I am, are asking for the addition of the Idaho Vandals. They've had a good couple of seasons there. Other people are saying maybe a few other schools. Maybe there's a possibility for Utah. I don't see them leaving the Big 12, but you never know. So weigh in and let me know your thoughts this morning. Who do you think are the 2 teams or 2 schools that should join the Pac-12 for the 2026 season? Leave your comments there, right there in the comment section, and weigh in on the Coffee Chat. We now know who is going to be the halftime performer at the Super Bowl in New Orleans for this coming February, and that's going to be Kendrick Lamar. Now, Kendrick Lamar made this announcement via social media in this super cute video, but now a lot of people are having feelings about that, including New Orleans native Lil Wayne. Now, Lil Wayne actually came came out and said recently that he was incredibly hurt and is still trying to sort through his feelings after not being named the Super Bowl halftime performer. Of course, the Super Bowl for February is going to be held in New Orleans, and a lot of people, Lil Wayne included and myself included, wanted to see a little bit of a New Orleans flair, a little tribute to New Orleans music. But we'll just have to wait and see. Maybe Kendrick Lamar will bring him out as a guest. If you've been on social media this week, specifically Instagram, I hope you didn't run into Shannon Sharpe's Instagram live on accident the other day. Now, if you don't know what I'm talking about, go ahead, head to X, and in the search bar, put in Shannon Sharpe and just let that take you wherever it wants to. But just know that Shannon Sharpe went on Instagram Live on accident earlier this week, and you could hear him in a very intimate situation with a lady. Now, he calls out the lady's name during the situation, and her name is Michelle. And of course, the internet sleuths immediately got on it, trying to figure out who she was. Now, again, you couldn't see anything in the video, thankfully, but you could hear a lot. So Shannon Sharpe came out on his podcast, The Nightcap, and totally owned up to it, said it wasn't a hack, it was just a complete accident, and that he's a grown man, was doing grown man stuff. ESPN has recently come out and said that they will not be disciplining Shannon Sharpe. Of course, he is on their show First Take and is a big sports commentator as well. The VMAs were this week and made a lot of headlines. As a matter of fact, it was the highest rated VMA award show in the last 4 years. Viewership was actually up about 8% overall. Huge performances, of course. Katy Perry got the Video Vanguard Award and had a massive performance. Meg Thee Stallion performed several of her hits. And I feel like the girl of the summer, Sabrina Carpenter, she also performed and won awards as well. But the big winner of the night, of course, was Taylor Swift. She got 7 awards in the night, and now that ties her with Beyonce for the most VMAs ever. And speaking of Beyonce, Beyonce was also making headlines this week, and I guess not in the greatest way. So the Country Music Association, the country that puts on the Country Music Awards, they recently came out with their list of nominees for this year's award show, and Beyonce was noticeably absent from those nominees. Now, her album, Cowboy Carter, Hate It or Love It, was on top of the Billboard Country Music charts. So my question for you this morning is, was Beyonce snubbed, or is her album really not country enough? Weigh in on the comment section. That's another thing we're talking about on the Coffee Chat. Now, for this weekend, if you are looking for something to watch, of course, if you're heading to the movie theater, Beetlejuice is out, and it might be a great way to kind of start off the fall season. It's received rave reviews, and it does feature the original cast along with Jenna Ortega. And now if you're looking to stream, maybe you just want to sit at home and stay cozy, or depending upon where you are in the country, stay cool inside. Fight Night on Peacock is an excellent limited series. It features Kevin Hart, Samuel L. Jackson, Terrence Howard, Taraji P. Henson. I mean, the list goes on and on. It's a great story about the Muhammad Ali fight that happened in Atlanta that helped turn Atlanta into, well, the Mecca that it is. Over on Hulu, there's The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives. I have only watched about 10 minutes of this show, and I can tell you, it is a hot flaming mess. Like, the drama is legit. Like, they literally start off by talking about that they were swingers or they weren't swingers. I don't know. It's a lot with this. So if you're watching it, let me know what your thoughts are about it and if I should continue. And I'm going to try and make it past the first episode. We'll see. Now, what I did watch and finish was on Max, this new show called Chimp Crazy. It's also a limited series, and it's by the same guys who produced Tiger King. Like, yeah, you remember Tiger King on Netflix that was out 2020, like heart of COVID. So yeah, these guys are back now with a whole nother group of crazy people called Chimp Crazy. And their whole thing is kind of like Tiger King, except instead of big cats, they're all about apes or monkeys, or it's a lot. And listen, if you just want to kind of binge watch something and that's very light, but also where you're just like, what is happening the entire time? This is the show for you. And on Netflix, I just finished up watching the show Chaos. This one features Jeff Goldblum. It is an amazing retelling of Greek mythology. So Jeff Goldblum plays Zeus, and it is so good, and you really love to hate him. He's such a great actor, and everything that he's in, I feel like I like. And so if you like Greek mythology, or if you just want something interesting to watch that you were sure to binge and enjoy, that's the show for you. In consumer news this morning, the FDA is warning about certain products that contain cinnamon, especially ground cinnamon, that could have hazardous levels of lead. Now, believe it or not, there's actually not a definitive amount of lead that you can or should be able to ingest. The FDA just says all of it is bad. The metal is bad. Now, you might remember that a while back that they were actually pulling applesauce packets because several hundred kids actually got sickened with lead poisoning, and this was because of the cinnamon that's in it. So now the FDA is warning about cinnamon consumption with certain products. So if you have a question about maybe a cinnamon that you have in your pantry or some similar product, you can head over to consumerproducts.org. It'll have a full breakdown for you. On the flip side, the FDA has just approved Apple's AirPod Pros, the second generation, as a use for hearing devices. So this is actually the first time that the FDA has authorized an over-the-counter hearing aid. This is all thanks in part to a new software that Apple developed that should be released by October. All right, that's all for today's coffee chat this morning. I'm Shannon Curtis. Stay caffeinated, stay curious. And before I go, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button.